I've had a lot of conversations with people over the last 4 years about this remake sequel epidemic plaguing Hollywood. But I kind of touched on it on my last video. It's obviously a symptom of total creative bankruptcy combined with corporate greed and the unwillingness to fund any movie that's not guaranteed a hit, blah, blah, blah. But the main point I seem to circle back to every time is that there's no grave that they will not desecrate. I understand superhero remakes. Every 5 to 10 years, you're going to have to remake Batman or Superman, right? Because every generation needs their Spidey. But when you start remaking movies that should have been left alone, or retconning stories from the past to make them worse by association, that's where I draw the line. I'd always say to my brother that it'd be any day now that we dig up the grave of Back to the Future with a Tom Holland or Timmy Chalamet remake. Hollywood had much more sinister plans. I did not think it could get this bad, but lo and behold, the greatest trilogy of all time, a piece of art that transcends generations, marks the absolute peak of Hollywood's creative ability, Lord of the Rings, is getting another movie. And this isn't even new information, by the way. I'm only bringing it up now because there have been 0 riots in the streets over this. 0. Seriously, when I first heard this news, I expected there to be a lot of outrage, but thus far, I'm not seeing it, right? So here's my question, right? When people say, oh, they'll never do that again, right? Talking about some great piece of art, they'll never recreate this. Why do you think that is, right? It's because theoretically people would be displeased with it. It's not because the studio doesn't want to disrespect the story or anything. If the studio can make money, the studio's going to make money, all right? They do not care about the characters. They damn sure don't care about the dead author, okay? So if the reason is it wouldn't make money because the people would be too outraged to watch it, that begs the second question, which is where is our rage? Because if there will be none, then the game plan moving forward is that these studios will, this is already what's been happening, but these studios will just wait long enough for people to stop caring, dig up the old IP, and then shit on it as much as possible, right? Squeeze as much money as they can out of it. Honestly, more than anything else, we just need to develop a way to make movies not canon. We need to make a way where we can all just come together and vote on it, that this movie never happened, right? And we would use that in a lot of Star Wars scenarios, you know what I mean? Because I really think most of us already do that for episodes 8 and 9. I do it for episode 7 as well. I'm going off on a tangent. This doesn't have much to do with the hunt for Gollum, but yeah, nobody thinks episode 9 happened, where Rey is Rey Skywalker. That never happened, you know what I mean? Why is that not the official case? Or is the fact that everyone's saying it, is that enough to just make it the official case, you know? We don't need a Lucasfilm announcement to confirm what we already know, I guess. And you can see a lot of similar distaste with the Hobbit movies, right? Not as bad as Star Wars, where most people are like, that never happened. It's just people widely acknowledge that the Hobbit movies are not that good. It doesn't need to be said that they're not as good as the Lord of the Rings, because that goes without saying. A lot of people just don't like those movies, because what's the problem there? The problem is that they made movies out of content that didn't exist, right? Lord of the Rings is 3 separate books, and The Hobbit is one children's book, one short children's book. And they made 3 movies equal in duration to Lord of the Rings. That doesn't make any sense. You're going to have to make stuff up. That ridiculous love triangle with, Galadriel and Gandalf. And we didn't learn from that either, because here we are making another movie from the Lord of the Rings books. What are we doing? And before you say it, yes, I know there's stuff in the Lord of the Rings book pertaining to, Gandalf and Aragorn hunting down Gollum, right? Trying to figure out where the ring is from. I get that. Is the trilogy perfect or not? Yes or no? Yes, it's perfect. It doesn't need fixing. It doesn't need clarification. And it sure as heck doesn't need another movie. So yeah, just make your voice heard, I guess. Stand up to this disgusting corporate greed personification. Yeah, just don't watch this movie. Pirate it if you have a soul.